Welcome to Childcare Rockstar Radio. I am your host, Chris Murray. Childcare leaders around the globe are breaking through challenges, leading the way in innovation, testing new best practices, and impacting children and families in a much more powerful and positive way than ever before. Each week, join me for interviews with early childhood leaders and experts that will leave you inspired to become the next childcare rockstar. Now, let's go. This is Childcare Rockstar Radio, episode 128, featuring Hal Elrod. Hey folks, congratulations for tuning in to this episode. The reason I'm congratulating you is this is a life-changing episode. For the next 40 minutes, I want you to pay close attention to what is said and maybe even re-listen to this episode several times. It will impact you perhaps more than any other 45-minute podcast I've ever done certainly will. And that's a big statement because we've had a lot of amazing thought leaders and celebrities and coaches, speakers, trainers, motivational experts on this podcast. And today is none other than Mr. Hal Elrod. Our conversation impacted me deeply, and I know personally several people who have had a life-changing experience from following his method that he created called the Miracle Morning. So come on in and get settled in and let's experience this together. Now, a couple of things I need to share with you before we get started here is I want to thank our partners over at Constructive Playthings for being a sponsor for this podcast episode. And they want you to know that if you're opening a new center and refreshing your classrooms, as many of you are, you probably have a lot of questions. You might need help with budget, with classroom layout, and you might have questions around accreditation standards, playground requirements, budget. The team here at Constructive Playthings gets it. Founded by an educator herself and family run for almost 70 years, the team has been through this a time or two. You'll be paired with a consultant who can't wait to hear your plans, and they will simplify the process, bring some ideas into play, and walk you through step by step. You opened a center for a reason. Focus on what matters. Let Constructive Playthings help with the rest. They are known for insanely high quality. Definitely go check them out, guys, at constructiveplaythings.com/CCSC. And I really appreciate you giving them some love and going over to that website, constructiveplaythings.com/CCSC, which stands for the Child Care Success Company. And that is the company that I founded. I'm so grateful to be doing this work. And perhaps most of all, I'm grateful to bring you Mr. Hal Elrod, not only today, but in the fall at the 2022 Childcare Success Summit annual conference. We are so excited to meet and welcome Hal to our main stage. He is one of our top keynotes this year, along with Lisa Nichols. And today's podcast dives into his method and his life. He experienced not one, but two near-death experiences, and he talks about that and shares his story in this podcast and what he learned from almost leaving the planet twice. And his attitude is just, I've never seen a guy so grateful and so able to experience extremely negative events in his life and immediately flip those negative events into positivity and gratitude and energy for life and a zest for life that I've seen from very, very few people. So we're going to talk about not letting your circumstances dictate your emotional state. We're going to talk about working with kids and having a focus for them on social emotional well-being and helping kids deal with times when they don't go their way, talking about outdoor focus and how being outside and outdoor play can help ground children and ease their anxiety and dramatically increase their wellness. In fact, studies have been done on this, and so much more. Hal and his team have co-published a special edition of The Miracle Morning called The Miracle Morning for Teachers. So you can pick that up and check that out. And Hal also has another book. Not only does he have The Miracle Morning, he has The Miracle Equation. And let me tell you just a little bit more about him. I mentioned multiple near-death experiences. He is now on a mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity, one human at a time. Hal Elrod is the author of the international best-selling book, The Miracle Morning, and as well as The Miracle Equation. And he's a Hall of Fame business achiever, ultra marathon runner, seven-figure entrepreneur, and most importantly, a grateful husband and a dad. And he has dedicated his life to helping other people overcome their challenges and become who they need to be in order to create the life they truly want and deserve. So we're going to dig in and learn all about Hal, and just hearing him tell his story from his perspective, his words, and his unique method described in the acronym SAVERS, and we're going to take you through what that means, lays out all 6 elements of the Miracle Morning, SAVERS. We'll find out what that stands for, and so much more. Here at the CCSC headquarters, we are getting ready to run another challenge. So we have 2 or 3 challenges a year. We've been doing them for the last 3 years, and we're excited to bring another challenge to the ECE world, and that is the 6 Figures in 7 Days challenge. So we guarantee that you will get a free experience inside of our challenge, our online challenge, which is held in a private Facebook group. You will have enough content from a free challenge that we host, myself and my coaches, to create your 6-figure roadmap and add within days or weeks 6 figures into your business almost overnight. So we're going to teach that, our tried and true method, in this challenge. The challenge kicks off on July 18th. And here, if you're watching this real time, it is late June, early July 2022, and we are about to start opening the doors for registration to our free challenge. So stay tuned to social media and or your email, and come on and join us, will you? It's a great way for you to get refreshed coming out of summer into fall. Again, we kick off on Monday, July 18th, and we will set you up with what is a challenge, how does it work. We have a free workbook, we have a bunch of bonuses, we have a VIP level, and we have Q&A calls in the VIP level where you can have direct access to me and ask me anything. Also our coaches, and a ton of content every single day. And there's homework and assignments, not overly time consuming, but just enough to make a commitment to yourself to create a roadmap for getting fully staffed and fully enrolled for the fall. No more dark classrooms, guys. We have the exact formula for how to fix your staffing problem and also how to retain staff at a higher level. We'll be teaching that, and that's all brand new content, as well as our proven method with some new fresh ideas for getting fully enrolled once you're fully staffed, and kind of doing those in conjunction with each other. So if any of that interests you, please come on over to childcaresuccess.com. We're starting to offer registration, opening up the doors to registration on or around July 5th. And pop over to childcaresuccess.com to get registered and sign up for our challenge. And I can't wait to meet you and work with you and learn more about your business and your goals and your dreams and where you're headed and maybe where you're stuck and so much more. So the community and the vibe and the level of sharing and the networking and the fun and the prizes are why we have continuing interest and just astounding impact through these challenges. We have done for 5 or 6 challenges, and they typically between 750 and 1,500 people in each time we do it come in. And they're all ECE directors and owners. And we are very blessed to be able to work with you in that way and with so many people in this world, in this industry. And maybe the best part, or some people love this part, is the prizes. So we do prize drawings every day. And what makes this challenge special is we are going back to our most popular prize, grand prize, is a STEAM lab. So a brand new STEAM lab will be given as a grand prize during the challenge. And if you want an opportunity to win a $6,500 valued STEAM lab for free for your preschool, come on in and join us in the challenge. And it's absolutely free. And you're going to probably have a little bit of a mind blow moment about it when people join us in the challenges. They're like, oh my God. So welcoming you into that. And that again, doors will open for registration on or around July 5th. And we'll get started in the challenge on Monday, July 18th, with a little bit of pre-work the weekend before. So never too early to come in once we open the doors, and let's start meeting each other and connecting and sharing inside of our private challenge Facebook group. All right, so that is that. Let's dive in. I want you guys to meet Hal. This is a life-changing episode. Do not miss it. Let's go. And thanks again to Constructive Playthings for sponsoring this very, very, very important episode. You'll also get a sneak peek of what Hal is going to share with us in person at the Child Care Success Summit. At the end of this podcast, we talk about that. And if you don't have your tickets yet, you got to get them. So once you watch this podcast or listen to it, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I have to go spend an hour, hour and a half with this amazing guy in person in Nashville. And it's October 19th to the 22nd this year, guys. So make sure you get your tickets at childcaresuccesssummit.com. The ballroom is quickly filling up. All right, without any further ado, let's dive into episode 128 here on the podcast, featuring Hal Elrod. Enjoy. Woo boy, we've got a good one for you guys today. I am so beyond thrilled to bring to the podcast today Mr. Hal Elrod. Hal, how are you?
Chris, I am excited to be here and we'll be more excited to see you in Nashville.
Totally. We're going to talk a little bit about Nashville later on in the podcast. And as many of you guys already know, because we announced it a couple weeks ago, that Hal is joining us as a keynote speaker in Nashville at the Child Care Success Summit 22. And we're beyond excited to be with you live in mid-October.
Yes.
So where are you right now?
I am on my ranch at my house here in Austin, or outside of Austin, Texas.
Nice. And I heard you talking about your ranch recently on a podcast, on your own podcast, which is Achieve Your Goals podcast, and talking about chickens and sheep, and you got the kids out there working the farm. So
yeah, we get 10 fresh eggs a day right now. And we got about 6 more that'll be egg layers soon. And it's so interesting because I'm such a city person. Like I always say that every day at our house is like one of those 80s movies where like the city folk moves out to the farm and like they're blundering through their, I'm like, that's our life. So yeah, but it's so funny. Chickens, like out my office, our chickens free range. So they'll just, they just walk by and it's weird how much joy it brings me to these chickens. They're so fun.
That's awesome. It reminds me, this is probably before your time, but the TV show Green Acres, which was blending city and country. So yeah, if you want a good throwback for that whole story.
I think my mom brought that up the other day when I talked to her. Like, literally that was the example she used. So
yeah, I watched that as a kid. Yeah. So we're just so excited to bring you here today, Hal. I have so many friends and colleagues that have used the Miracle Morning, including myself. It's an incredible process. And so we're going to dive into that today, of course, and your other book, The Miracle Equation. Let's start out with talking about you and a little bit of the key things about your story. So you have had not one, but 2 near-death experiences. So tell us a little bit about any impactful lessons that you gained from going through those experiences.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. There's 2 big ones that stand out. When I was 20 years old, I was driving home from a meeting I had just given a speech at, actually. I worked for Cutco Cutlery, and I was one of their top reps, so I always gave speeches at the events. And I gave a speech one night, and that night, driving home around 11:30 at night, I was on the freeway going 70 miles an hour, and I was hit head on by a drunk driver also going 70 to 80 miles per hour. And that night, upon impact, I hit another car, crashed into my car. I hit two cars, one head on, one in my door, and I broke 11 bones. I was clinically dead for 6 minutes on the freeway, and they airlifted me to the hospital. I underwent emergency surgery, spent 6 days in a coma, came out of the coma to be told by doctors I would never walk again. And the first lesson I learned is that, doctors might be experts in medicine, but they're not experts in you. Meaning, and it's really a lesson just of mindset for all of us, that I decided if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I will be the happiest, most grateful person you've ever seen in a wheelchair, because I will not let my uncontrollable circumstances, in that case, right? If I'm in a wheelchair, I'm unable to walk, I will not let my circumstances determine my emotional well-being. And I think that's arguably the single most important, one of the most important lessons that we can learn. And when I am in Nashville, that'll be a part of the message I talk about, is how do you get to a point where you can actually choose your emotional state in any given moment, no matter what's happening. And I had the mindset that if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I'll be happy and grateful, but I'm not going to accept that I can't walk again until I'm absolutely proven that that's the only outcome. And so every day I prayed about walking, I meditated, I visualized, I put all of my energy into my body healing and walking again. And 2 weeks after the crash, 3 weeks after the crash, 2 weeks after I came out of the coma, the doctor said, we don't know how to explain this, but your body, Hal, is healing so fast that you can actually take your first step tomorrow in therapy. And so it went from never walk again to 3 weeks later, the doctors couldn't explain it. And I think there's so many lessons within that, the power of the mind-body connection, the power of, faith, on and on and on. Yeah. But the biggest one was, no matter what happened to me, I'm going to choose to enjoy my life and be grateful for every moment, regardless of the circumstances I'm facing. Mm-hmm. And then you fast forward 17 years later, one night I woke up in the middle of the night struggling to breathe. And about 2 weeks after that, I was in and out of the hospital, in and out of the ER, had my lung drained 7 times. And they finally figured out that I had a really rare aggressive form of cancer, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And the day that I was diagnosed with cancer, I was told that I had a 20 to 30% chance of surviving, right? So that's, terrible odds. I was they said I could die within a matter of weeks, if not months at the most. And the hard part about that, different from the accident, was I had a daughter and a son, right? My daughter was 7, my son was 4. And so having to deal with the fact that they're telling me there's a 70 to 80% chance that they're going to be without a dad, that was hard. But the day that I was diagnosed, I lived the same principle. I said, I can't change that I have cancer. But I'm going to choose to be the happiest and the most grateful I've ever been while I endure the most difficult time in my life. And the two are not mutually exclusive. We've been conditioned to think bad things happen to us and I feel bad. Terrible things happen, I feel terrible, right? But good things happen, I feel good. And we've been conditioned to think that we are at the mercy of our circumstances. And I realized that no, I feel however I want to feel. Even though I'm facing really painful, difficult circumstances, I can choose to be at peace with what I can't change and grateful for everything I have. And once again, I kind of defied the logic of doctors. And, it was a really difficult, we won't go into the whole cancer journey. It was really difficult, but I once again survived, and, I'm here to talk about it. So.
Yeah. Well, I'm personally, obviously your family, the world, what I do, and you basically healed yourself without getting too woo-woo or, but making the choice. I love it that it's just about choice. And that's just the most powerful message I feel potentially of anything on our planet. When during that whole continuum did you discover or get inspired by the concepts that brought to life the Miracle Morning? Tell us a little bit about that, the birthing of that whole thing.
So that was my that was an in-between adversity. In between the car accident and the cancer, there was a financial collapse. And in 2008, when the US economy crashed, I'm a total optimist. So I was not, I don't pay attention to the news. I don't care what anybody says. I create my own economy, right? I'm very self-empowered.
Right.
The reality that my clients were not able to earn income and couldn't pay me. I was a coach at the time. I was a business coach.
Mm-hmm.
I lost over half of my income in a matter of months, and I couldn't pay the mortgage. My house was foreclosed on by the bank. I had to move back in with my dad with a fiance who was pregnant. That was the lowest point in my life. Honestly, I was more depressed with that because I just, nothing I worked turned my finances around until I had an epiphany. I heard a quote from Jim Rohn, and this quote changed my entire life. It was literally the catalyst for the miracle morning. Jim Rohn said, "Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development." And I don't know why, Chris, sometimes you're just in the right mindset. Something hits you that you've heard before, but it hits you right when you need it to. And I quantified it. I went, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, and if everybody listening, I want you to think of this with me, this question. On a scale of 1 to 10, what level of success do we all want? And the answer is 10, right? Nobody is like, well, I don't want to be too happy or have too much money. No, we all want to be as successful and happy and fulfilled as we possibly can.
Yes.
And so I asked myself, okay, well, if I want level 10 success, why am I struggling right now in literally every area of my life? My physical health, I was out of shape, I was broke, on and on. And I realized my level of personal development at that time was like a 2 or a 3. And I believe this is the disconnect. We all want level 10 success, but every day we're showing up not at our best. We're not developing ourselves into a level 10 person. Mm-hmm. And I had an epiphany. I thought, I'm going to go figure out what the world's most successful people do for personal development. And I'm going to create the ultimate personal development ritual or routine. And I ran home and I started Googling just best personal development practices and what do millionaires do and billionaires and, Olympians and athletes and world champions, like what do the best of the best in the world do to optimize their personal development? And I was looking for like 1 or 2 practices that I could do each day. And as I'm looking, I ended up with a list of 6. It was silence or meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling, or what I call scribing. And this is an acronym now, SAVERS, SAVERS, silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. Depending on who you studied, they would swear by one of those typically, right? I read an article called Fortune 500 CEOs who swear by meditation. And I never thought of meditation as something that was a business tool.
Right.
But these CEOs said their best ideas and strategies and insights and clarity came during their meditation practice. Wow. So I thought, well, I've got to meditate, right? And then I saw an interview. Ellen DeGeneres was interviewing Will Smith. Now, this was pre-Oscar fiasco, right?
Yes.
But she said, Will, you've been successful at almost everything you do. You're a successful musician. You're a successful actor. How did you achieve all this success? And he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said affirmations. He said he learned about affirmations when he was 15 years old, and he basically scripted out, he affirmed what he wanted to achieve in his life and who he needed to be each day in terms of the mindset and the habits. And he affirmed that every day. And he simply lived in alignment with those affirmations. And he said, I became the person that I needed to be. I did the things that I affirmed, and I created what I affirmed that I would create for my life.
Wow.
I went, well, I got to do that. Yeah. And so I'm looking at this list of 6, and I went, well, which of these are the best? And again, it depended on who you asked. The second epiphany was, what if I did all of these? What if I woke up tomorrow and I did the 6 most timeless, proven personal development practices in the history of humanity that the world's most successful people have sworn by for centuries? And I woke up the next morning. Now, keep in mind, at this time in my life, I'm in debt. My house is in the middle of foreclosure. My body fat percentage had tripled in the last 6 months. Like I was not at a good place, right. But I woke up like it was Christmas morning as a kid. I was so excited to give this a try. I did all 6 practices. I wasn't good at them. I didn't know how to meditate. It all felt kind of weird. But after 1 hour, I was on fire. I thought, if I start every day like this, It's only a matter of time before I become the level 10 version of me to create the success I want. And Chris, to be honest, I was thinking it would take probably a year, like the compound effect. I'll get 1% better every day and eventually turn this around. In less than 2 months, my entire life changed. As a result of the morning routine, I more than doubled my income. In a declining economy, by the way. I think this is important to mention because we're headed toward a recession. It's pretty much inevitable. We were in a recession. It was called the Great Recession of 2008. The economy continued to get worse. And once I started my Miracle Morning and I figured out how I could grow my business in a declining economy, my business doubled in 2 months. So something to keep in mind, if you get better, even though the economy gets worse, if you focus every day on getting better, you can create any results that you want in your life or in your business. In those 2 months, I went from being in the worst shape of my life to deciding to run a 52-mile ultra marathon. I had never run before in my life. And that's why I thought I hate running. So who would I have to become to run 52 consecutive miles?
Wow.
Whoever that guy is, like, that's a next level of me. So I'm going to commit to it publicly. And my depression went away within a matter of days because I had so much hope and clarity from this morning routine. And to wrap this story up, I went to my wife and I said, sweetheart, I signed on 2 more clients today. We've officially doubled our income in the last 2 months. This morning routine, it feels like a miracle. And she goes, it's your miracle morning, kind of in jest.
Right.
I go, I love that miracle morning. I wrote it in my schedule, miracle morning every day. And, the rest is kind of history. I started teaching it to people, wrote a book about it, self-published the book. The book is now sold 2.5 million copies. And, and it's kind of this worldwide movement in 217 countries that people are waking up every day and fulfilling their potential, which the mission is to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time. That's the global Miracle Morning mission. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it.
Wow. That is amazing. So now fast forward, do you still get all 6 things every day? And what about people that only have a small amount of time? Like how to get started if you want to start doing this and you have an additional 20, you're going to get up 20 minutes earlier. Say,
yeah, that's a great question.
Baby pill into it.
So I do the Miracle Morning every 7 days a week, unless I have like a date night with my wife and I'm up till midnight or whatever.
Right.
But I strive for 7 days a week, and I would say I average like 6.4. I mean, it's almost every day.
Okay.
It's a priority for me because when I don't do it, it's like, here's what it does. When you start your day with the Miracle Morning, you're starting your day in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state. Therefore, you are the best version of you to take on every aspect of your day. As the Miracle Morning makes me a better dad, a better husband, and a better entrepreneur, a better business owner, right? And when I don't do it, I don't have that benefit, right? I don't have as much energy, as much clarity, as much motivation, etc. So I do it almost every day. For anybody listening that says one of 2 things, the 2 biggest excuses are either I don't have time, I'm already busy, I got kids, I got whatever, right? I got pets I got to take care of in the morning, or I'm not a morning person, right? So let's tackle those real quick. I don't have time, or I'm not a morning person. The I don't have time is simply go to bed 30 minutes earlier to wake up 30 minutes earlier, right? It's not a big to do. You don't have to get up an hour earlier. In fact, there's a chapter in the Miracle Morning book called the 6-Minute Miracle Morning. And it walks you through the power, the benefits of just doing 1 minute of silence, 1 minute of meditation, calming your nervous system, getting centered for the day, pulling out your affirmations, and just spending 1 minute reading the affirmations that remind you, that affirm how limitless you really are and what you're committed to doing and who you're committed to being, right? 1 minute of exercise, do jumping jacks, get your heart rate up. Literally in 6 minutes, you can be in a completely different mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual state than you were when you started. So you can literally do a 6-minute version. And in that way, there really is no excuse. And if you're not a morning person, 2 things I'll share. Number 1, join the club. I wasn't a morning person. That was my biggest mental hurdle. And then what I realized, my friend gave me this advice. He goes, Hal, are you a runner? I said, no, I hate running. He said, do you run? I said, of course not. He said, do you think that if you started running every day, just let's say day 1, you ran for 1 minute, you could do that. And day 2, you ran for 2 minutes. And day 3, and by the end of 30 days, you're running 30 minutes, but it was 1 minute more each day. Do you think you might become a runner? I didn't want to say yes, but it was hard to deny. And here's the thing. If you don't wake up early, you're not a morning person. If you tell yourself you're not a morning person, you're not a morning person. If you tell yourself that you have to eat ice cream after bed or after dinner, then you do. Like, it's self-fulfilling.
Right.
And so that's the first thing. And in terms of joining the club, I was once asked in an interview, Hal, what percentage of the millions of people that do the Miracle Morning were already quote unquote morning people? So they didn't have, it wasn't hard. They just, instead of checking email first thing, they did their savers. They said, and what percentage were not morning people? So this was like overcoming a limiting belief they had that they could not be a morning person.
Right.
I had no idea. I didn't know the answer. So we surveyed our community. And at that time, there's probably a few 100,000 people. But I was blown away. 72% of the respondents said they had never in their life been a morning person, didn't think they could until they read the Miracle Morning. So you're in the majority. If you're not a morning person, the Miracle Morning, a big part of the book is helping people. There's an entire chapter called the 5-step snooze-proof wake-up strategy. And it's literally, it handles the psychology of, okay, how do you overcome first the belief, the limiting belief that I'm not a morning person, and then how do you logistically set up your alarm clock, your bedtime, what do you do before bed? What do you do first thing when the alarm goes off? It breaks down how do you actually get yourself to beat that snooze button when you've been accustomed to hitting it for the last 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, depending.
Yeah. Well, this is extremely powerful. I love this. We teach mindset a ton, Hal, in our group. It's the core of everything that we do in the Child Care Success Academy. And I absolutely love everything you're telling and sharing with us today. My next question, diving into this a little deeper, is mindset. Sometimes when you're hit with life's challenges, and especially on really challenging days or really, days that you get heartbreaking news, how to stay present in a place of gratitude and positive mindset, how to flip your head from that fear, negative, self-limiting talk, all that stuff, and bring it back to all the positivity that you're talking about. So do you have any little tricks or hacks that you do to try to help flip your head when you got that stinking thinking going on?
Yes, I love this question. A couple things. Well, so there's something I'll share with you called the 5-minute rule that I learned when I was 19 years old. I started selling Cutco cutlery. My manager taught me something called the 5-minute rule. He said that he said, okay, you're all new to sales. We were all new to sales. I was 19 years old, right? He said, when you are a salesperson, you experience what he called accelerated adversity. Meaning, he said, people experience in their life, occasionally they have disappointment. They might set a goal and not hit it. Somebody might reject them, right? Yep. And he said, when you're in sales, it happens every single day, multiple times a day. And we're like, oh, okay. And he said, so you need to be ready to handle it. And he said, he taught us the 5-minute rule. He said, when you encounter disappointment, failure, rejection, he said, set your timer for 5 minutes. Give yourself 5 minutes to feel all your feelings. Bitch, moan, complain, cry, vent, feel sorry for yourself, whatever, just feel it. Go, this sucks. I can't believe this is happening. I wanted this so bad. I can't believe this, right? Really feel it. He said, feel it all. But when the timer goes off after 5 minutes, you take a deep breath and you say 3 very powerful words. Can't change it. You acknowledge, I cannot go back in time and change what happened 5 minutes ago. He said, so therefore, the only logical, intelligent, beneficial, proactive choice you have is to accept whatever happened 5 minutes ago fully. Be at peace with it. Don't wish it didn't happen, because that's just creating emotional pain. You're wishing something didn't happen that did happen. Nothing you do or say or think is going to unchange it, right?
Yep.
He said, so you accept it fully, and then you ask yourself, okay, what can I do now? What's in my control? I can't change the past. what can I change now moving forward? And he said, it's typically, in this case, it's going to be getting on the phone and scheduling more appointments. Can't change the one that canceled or that, whatever. You get on the phone and move forward.
Yep.
And so I learned this at 19 and I started applying it to everything. I would hit traffic when I would be running late to an appointment. And if you're listening to this, think about how you would normally feel. You'd go, no, come on. Oh God, not today. I'm going to be late. And you would spend the entire, 30 minutes in traffic, frustrated, riding the bumper in front of you, going, no, come on. And like stressed out over the consequence of being late. Tell me how that serves you.
Exactly.
I just started setting the timer for 5 minutes and going, I can't believe I'm late. But then it was my fault. I left the house late usually, right? And then when the timer went off, I'd go, I can't change that there's traffic. I can't change that I'm going to be late. I can't change. So now I'm applying the 5-minute rule to what's happening in the future that I can't change, right? I'm accepting life before it even happens. And I'm going, I can't change what's about to happen. So the only intelligent choice I have is to accept it and be at peace with it and move on. Mm-hmm. And when I had my car accident, that was a year and a half after I learned the 5-minute rule. My dad was called in by the doctors. The doctors said, Hal, or they told my dad, they said, we believe Hal is in denial. He's always so happy. That's not normal for a 20-year-old young man that's being told he's never going to walk again. We think he's either in denial or delusional. Find out how he's really feeling. And my dad came in. My dad asked me, he told me the doctor's concerns. I said, Dad, I live by the 5-minute rule. I can't change that I was in a car accident 2 weeks ago. So what's the point in feeling bad about it? What's the point in feeling sorry for myself? That doesn't help me at all. In fact, that just hurts me. That just causes me to feel sad and depressed and upset. And I want to heal my body. I'm pretty sure feeling sad and scared, that's not serving me. I said, so I've decided, and that's when I mentioned this earlier. I said, Dad, I've decided I'm going to be the happiest and the most grateful I've ever been while I endure the most difficult time in my life. It was almost like a challenge, like, wow, if I could be happy and grateful in the midst of being in a hospital, in pain, unable to walk, well, then the rest of life is going to be a cakewalk. It's going to be easy, right? So that 5-minute rule and those 3 words, can't change it. That's been the greatest tool to this day, that no matter what happens, I've already accepted life in the future. There's going to be more challenges. So they're not going to catch me off guard. I'm going to accept them before they even happen. And when I got cancer, it was the same thing. I've already accepted that some stuff's going to go wrong. That was a big one, but the philosophy, the strategy didn't change. And I was at peace with whatever I couldn't change.
I love that. I practice all the time to stop resisting and get into acceptance as fast as I can. So I love, love, love that, Hal. I bet this has really impacted your parenting style. I'm wondering if your kids ever get annoyed with the optimism and the energy and the excitement. And are they always like, Dad, give it a break already? Or I don't know how old they are. But
my kids and my wife. It's funny when I actually, I'll teach, I'm sure I'll mention this or talk about this in Tennessee. I'll go in more depth on this can't change it idea and how what the source of all emotional pain is, right? Which is resistance. You said it. Resisting our reality is the source of all emotional pain. So we'll talk more about that. But whenever I teach the can't change it philosophy in the 5-minute rule, I say, by the way, everybody here, raise your hand if you have a spouse that this would really help them. And usually almost every hand goes up. I go, do yourself a favor and next time when you go home and they get upset, don't drop a can't change it on them. Don't set the timer for 5 minutes. If they don't have the context to understand this, you're going to do more harm than good, right? And I've learned that the hard way. But my wife will come home and this happened. Oh my gosh, this lady was so rude and blah 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 blah. And like, you can't change it. It's like, I don't want your motivational bull crap. Like, I'm like, oh yeah. So I've learned, empathy. I need to lead with empathy. And then once we've connected, maybe I could remind her if can't change it, so. But my kids will go, Dad, my daughter is the queen of eye rolls. She's 12 going on 17. Dad, I don't want to hear that. I know I can't change it, blah, blah, blah. So I've learned that as men and women, right, we also operate differently typically. Yeah. And I've learned to be more empathetic and to meet, and it doesn't matter man or woman, meet somebody where they are, right? Yes. Like that's a big key. So if someone is upset, you've got to meet them where they are, get upset with them, and then ask some questions. Hey, what do you think? How do you want to feel? Or, lead them down a path to acceptance.
Yes. And part of that, we had Ron Clark, one of America's leading educators, on our stage a couple of years ago. And he talked about empathy when somebody's in that place where they're just all worked up and they need to vent, is just be that sounding board. Just continue.
Yep.
Like, well, what else would you like to, what else?
Yep.
What else?
Yep.
What else? And just let them do the full download till you get them to a place where they can actually start moving into a different direction. So
totally. And it really does work, but you can't rush it. That's my biggest thing, is biting my tongue and not trying to rush to the solution. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So related to kids, coming out of the pandemic and where we're at right now in the world of early childhood education, people listening to this podcast are dealing with the highest level we've ever had of children who are having anxiety, mental health issues, and social emotional issues. That's how things are showing up in the classroom right now, to a 2 or 3x or even 5x level than it was pre-pandemic. So I listened recently to your podcast episode all about going out in nature and citing some stats about how being outdoors in nature and spending time outside for kids, especially for kids' mental health and for adults for sure, can be a game changer. Meditating in nature. You talked about, laying on the ground and doing grounding or earthing.
Yeah.
And I think it would be great just for anybody listening to this podcast to take some of those strategies back into the classroom, take kids outside more, go and do a fun, like everybody lay on the ground and do like a fun exercise around, that with kids. You could come up with games. There's so many creative things that we can do with kids outside. So I just wanted to get your take on it and talk a little bit about the impact of being in nature.
Yeah. Well, I'll go a slightly different, we can definitely address the nature piece. But what you just brought up for me, the Miracle Morning, one of my co-authors, her name is Brianna Greenspan, and she was actually one of the first people I ever taught the Miracle Morning to. It's so crazy how life comes full circle and we've saved into their lives. So the Miracle Morning was 2008 when I created it. Brianna was one of my coaching clients. And I said, hey, I got to tell you this morning routine. Do you do a morning routine? She goes, nope, not a morning person. Never going to be a morning person. She was very resistant. And, and I taught it to her, and she ended up totally taking it on. And we co-authored the Miracle Morning Art of Affirmations coloring book. So it's an adult coloring book for adults and kids where, there's a lot of research now that also shows the meditative component of intentional coloring. Yes. And so Brianna leads the Miracle Morning Clubhouse room. And she had a teacher in there that said, hey, we started doing the Miracle Morning Savers at our school in all of our classrooms. I don't remember the age. I think it was like a middle school. And she said, we had a detention epidemic before Miracle Morning. We had more detention, it was out of control. She said, we've done it. I forgot how many months they'd been doing it. They had not had a single detention, not one, since they started implementing the Miracle Morning with their kids. So now there are 148 schools that do the Miracle Morning with their students to start the day. Some of them do it over the loudspeaker where the entire school in the classrooms, they'll lead them through 1 minute of silence, 1 minute of affirmations. And the kids have their own affirmations that they created in the school, 1 minute of visualization, then they get up and move for a minute of exercise, right? So on and so forth. And then journal what they're grateful for a minute. And it has become a social emotional tool that is really impacting kids. And it was always my vision when I was creating the Miracle Morning. I thought one day I just had this idea. What if every school in America and in the world, what if the students started their day with meditation affirmations? I thought that the impact of that for people's mental and emotional well-being, for the kids feeling connected to one another, eliminating bullying. So many things. And so, so I will say that, yes, spending time in nature is absolutely important. And if you can get the kids in nature, right, and present in nature to sit, not just, playing is important as well. But beyond that, bringing the Miracle Morning and the Savers into students' lives has been a game changer. And there is a book called The Miracle Morning for Teachers, which really teaches, okay, if you're a teacher, here's how to integrate the Miracle Morning into your classroom.
Love that. So I want everybody who's listening to pick up some copies of that for your teachers, because we are going to help change the face of early childhood education to help using these strategies. I absolutely love this idea. I think it could be hugely impactful, Hal. And right back to your mission, which again is, let's see, elevating the consciousness of humanity, one person, one child, perhaps at a time. So if we could do it when they're younger, like all of these school districts are doing, I mean, I can't imagine anything more powerful for the planet.
Completely. To learn those tools at that young of an age, it's just a game changer in so many ways, like, meditation, obviously, but affirmations, like to have students where their self-talk is, I am unstoppable. I am amazing. I am capable of anything. I deserve to be happy and successful. And I can do like to affirm that every single day in the classroom, radical game changer. Because where else? Think about that. If they're blessed to have parents that are saying, you can do anything, Johnny, Sarah, you're amazing. If the parents are affirming that, great. But I don't know any stats, but in all honesty, how many parents are consistently affirming that? I'm reading a book called Hold On to Your Kids, which is phenomenal. And they do talk about how when a child's a baby, we say that, oh, you're so adorable, you're so cute. And once they hit age like 3, it's something like 70 to 80% of the communication is corrective behavior. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Put that down. You're not supposed to do that. Right. And so, yes, changing that language, that voice in a kid's head can change who they become as their brain develops with those affirmative, language. Yeah.
Love that. So let's share, you've got these 2 books, and it sounds like there's a lot of other Miracle Morning segmented books, like for teachers, and there may be other audiences too.
For college students, for parents and families. Yeah, there's about a dozen books in the series.
So where should folks go to learn more and check out the books?
Go to miraclemorning.com. That is the hub. My other book, The Miracle Equation, that was like the follow-up to The Miracle Morning, that's on there. And you can see the whole series. The Miracle Morning movie, many of you might not even know, but there is a documentary that we spent 6 years filming where we traveled around the world and showcased these inspiring transformations that people were creating through using their Miracle Morning. And so that's all. Everything's at miraclemorning.com. And you can also join the Miracle Morning community, which is a 330,000 person Facebook group of people from 217 countries that are waking up every day and fulfilling the mission and supporting each other.
I love it. Is there anything else that you would like to share? We're going to see you this fall in Nashville, so we're going to wait and make people excited to find out what you're going to talk about. You shared a little bit about some little sneak peeks while we were talking on the podcast. Speaking of which, your podcast is amazing. Achieve Your Goals podcast. You guys should definitely check that out. 430 episodes, something like that.
Yeah. I just recorded 434 this morning. Yeah.
Woo.
So no, in Nashville. So a quick overview. So what we're going to talk about in Nashville, there's really 2 main things, and it's what we touched on today. So the first is what I call emotional enlightenment. And that is, I'm going to teach you how to harness an ability that we're all born with, but nobody teaches us how to use it, which is the ability to choose your emotional state in any given moment, the optimal emotional state. If you need to be confident, if you want to feel happy, if you want to feel grateful, if you want to be playful, if you want to feel romantic, in love with your partner after a big blow up fight that you had, whatever it is, here's how I'm going to teach you how to be in charge of your emotional state. And then we're going to dive deep into the savers, and I'm going to teach you advanced techniques for every single one of the 6 practices of the Miracle Morning: meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. So that'll be the message. And we're going to end with a 30-day challenge so you can put everything into practice.
I love it. I can't wait. Hal, thank you so much for being here with us today. I am beyond grateful. It was great to get to know you better. I'm so excited to meet you in person this fall. And just thanks so much, man. The world is a better place because of you. So
Thank you,
just
Chris.
very, very
Ditto.
grateful.
And I thank you so much for having me. Thanks for bringing me out to Nashville. I'm pumped. I cannot wait. And appreciate you so much.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. This is a special one. Now go take action. Make it real for your life today. Let's go. Thanks, Hal. Take care and God bless.